Blog Talk Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of False Count Radio. As always, I'm your host, the Pacific Coast player, JT Evans, and I have on the line with me former WWF Superstar and member of the Mean Street Posse, Pete Gass. How are you doing tonight?
Good, JT. How are you doing tonight?
Doing good, man. You know, I have been reading up and kind of following on what you've been doing. You've been playing baseball. You want to tell the listeners what's been up?
Actually, it's softball. I play about 6 nights a week when I can stay healthy, and I play for a bunch of local teams during the week, and on the weekends I play for a group it's called Click It for Cassie. Everyone should check it out at clickitforcassie.com. Basically, in a nutshell, it's a tragedy. A young girl got killed in a car accident. It basically makes you more aware to wearing your seatbelt and stuff. It's a really good cause. Everyone should really just check that out.
Yeah, it sounds like a good cause, and I'll put that link up on our website, of course. Now, I was wondering, growing up, were you a wrestling fan?
It's hard not to be a wrestling fan. I'm growing up with the McMahon family, as you know, Shane being my childhood friend, and to be honest with you, even before I met Shane, I remember being 9 years old, waking up, or trying to stay awake rather, till like midnight to try to catch on Channel 9 here locally. They used to have wrestling on, and I remember seeing a big blonde-haired guy by the name of Hulk Hogan wrestle. I used to try to stay awake up to watch him, so it was always a big thing, and I was always a big fan of it growing up, yes, to answer your question.
Now, you actually touched down a little bit on that, but what was growing up with Shane like?
To be honest with you, these guys that do the show Jackass, we laughed about it, and we said we were the original jackasses because Shane, growing up, Shane's one of the craziest people growing up, and we did a bunch of stuff growing up that we were lucky we didn't get arrested for a bunch of times. We got out of a lot of trouble, but you know, there's nothing. Shane and my group, the Mean Street Posse, the guys growing up in that group, we did a lot of stuff that we shouldn't have done and gotten a lot of trouble. Well, should have gotten a lot of trouble, but somehow we always kind of eluded that.
Did you guys ever record any of it?
No, that's the thing. We didn't think of recording it. So, but and like I said, that's what Shane and I often joke about it because there's a lot of things that like we did, and if we had a recorder, you know, going, we would have made a lot of money doing it. Definitely.
Now, before wrestling, what did you do for a living?
Before wrestling, well, I had a bunch of jobs. The job right before wrestling, I actually ran an office in Queens, New York, called Lightning Reynolds, no G at the end. It was basically on a movie set, you have star trailer homes, and I used to rent those star trailer homes out to production companies. I was out with a lot of producers. I used to wine and dine producers, directors, and I dealt a lot on movie sets. Some of the movies that I got the opportunity to work on, Big Daddy with Adam Sandler, Thomas Crown Affair was shot in Yonkers, New York. I did a lot of those movies back then, and then the opportunity with Shane came up to be involved in Wrestlemania 16, and eventually that just kind of snowballed, and I was now a part of wrestling instead of doing what I was doing before.
Now, my co-host Viper actually has a question, so Viper, go ahead.
Yeah, you mentioned WrestleMania. What are your memories of your WrestleMania debut?
Well, going into WrestleMania, the first one we were in, we didn't know how much of a buzz we actually had. And I remember we had a part where we were helping Shane beat X-Pac, and they had brought us in for a few weeks before, and we kind of built up to this thing. We did some vignettes prior to even being brought on into TV. And getting to actually participate in WrestleMania, we sat in the front row, and it was pretty amazing because I remember looking up to the crowd and actually seeing signs. You know, there's some creative signs. I remember one of them was they had a giant Mean Street Posse sign, and they had another one saying Pete Gas and Rodney are the icons of wrestling, and we had a good time watching it and getting involved. And I remember there was a bunch of New York Giants sitting a couple rows behind us, and here I am. I'm a Giants fan, and I'm excited that I'm even sitting within 5 feet of these guys, and they're sitting there taking our pictures. So it was a blast. I mean, it was an unbelievable feeling, and then to actually get to participate in it, and looking back at it now, where we didn't even know what the hell we were doing, and to do it, and then actually get on TV and have it be a memory and stuff, it was amazing, an absolute amazing time.
Now, you came in different than a lot of the guys that go to the WWE. Were you accepted by the boys when you first came in?
Absolutely not. Some guys, guys put up a front, and because we were Shane's friends, and there was everyone from, we had to pay our dues in a different way. A normal wrestler goes through, training class and then works on the road, and guys like, Stone Cold Steve Austin would go and make like $40 a day, if lucky, and, eat bags of potatoes, and we didn't have that. And we got thrown right into the fire right away without even knowing how to take a bump. And, to answer your question, a lot of people did, even Jim Ross, which I was a little surprised with, and not, especially since we busted our ass for 3 years, and which didn't feel like we were getting our respect from Jim Ross at all. And I know I wasn't. He may have liked Rodney a little bit better than me. But, other people, like the boys themselves in the locker room, eventually they grew to respect us because we did sell ourselves out. We put everybody over. We threw our bodies around. We let everyone beat our asses. And at the end of the day, when everything was all said and done, we did have the respect. But it did take a year, a little over a year, maybe a year to earn that respect.
Now, a lot of the guys when they first come in, they get hazed or ribbed. Did you guys ever get hazed or ribbed when you guys first came in?
That's a good question. We didn't get, I remember as I was there, I remember, doing stuff when I got down to, Memphis, and I know you want to touch on that later. I know I did some ribbing down there to some of the younger guys, like Lance Cade when he was first coming in. But, no, we didn't really get, it wasn't too bad with us. We were kind of taught early on how to respect the boys, make sure, there's some unwritten rules in the wrestling industry. Like, you walk into a locker room, you shake everyone's hands when you get there. You shake everyone's hands when you leave. And, we kind of knew that going in, and some people don't, and they learn the hard way, and they get ribbed, and they get razzed pretty good. And but for the most part back then, it was a great locker room. Probably I hear from guys from the past, from the present, that it was probably the best of the time to be in professional wrestling, especially for WWE. So no, the answer is no. We really didn't get razzed or ribbed that much, to be honest with you.
Oh, okay. During this time you actually got to work with X-Pac. What was X-Pac like to work with?
X-Pac's a phenomenal person. He's a great person. I think he gets a bum rap on a lot of things. That reality show definitely didn't help him. But he's a true professional. He taught me a lot, along with a lot of guys. Like I said a minute or so ago, there were guys that really knew how to, that locker room really, everyone took care of each other. And I was able to go up to an X-Pac or a Road Dogg and talk to them. And literally they would tell you how to work a crowd. And we were green, so we were still learning. And we were doing shows and then heading back to Stamford, Connecticut, to Titan Tower, and into the studio and working on moves and philosophy of a match and all that stuff. And then we would go and bring it to these guys and pick their brains. And that was one thing that Rodney and I definitely did was, we went there as Shane's buddies, but when we got there, we didn't use that as like a crutch. We didn't cruise by things. We broke our asses. We watched tapes. We did everything that we needed to do to get better each and every day. Even when we were hurt and beat up and, Bradshaw's hitting me in the head with a steel chair and trying to take my head off, I'm back in the ring the next night, wanting that chair shot again. We went and we looked at it as we were doing it for our buddy Shane and his family, and then we treated it as a job and we worked hard at it. So, that's basically, in a nutshell, that's, everyone in that locker room, you could go to them, you could ask for help. A guy like X-Pac, like I said, he he would help with philosophy. He would tell you how to get a crowd up, and to me, he was a true professional in every aspect.
Now, you have stated in past interviews that you were close friends with Tess. Do you have any memories you can share?
I have a lot of them, yeah. To be honest with you, to start off, I can't believe it's been slightly over a year that he's gone. I hated his guts when I first met him. He was a dick. He was arrogant. He didn't accept us in the beginning. I thought I thought he was a douchebag. I'll be honest with you. And he knew that. He didn't like me. A couple times, and it wasn't because, I'm very easy to get along with, and anyone who knows me can tell you that. And he was a little on the arrogant side, and we put him over so many times, and he stiffed me a bunch of times in the ring with a punch or a boot, and a couple times I actually wanted to get out. I almost got out of character and really wanted to throw a punch at him. But to answer your question, I ended up, we did SummerSlam in '99, and right that week before SummerSlam, he came up to Stanford, and we all went over that match, and we had that thing down to a science. I mean, we had and when it came time for the show, we nailed it. Everybody was absolutely in the very spot they were supposed to be, and that, in my opinion, and a lot of other opinions, that match stole the show that night. And he appreciated it. He understood at that point, he was up here in Stanford training, and we went to dinner at Morton Steakhouse after. Shane, we all went out, and we had a few drinks, and we all had a good time, and you could see the things, the respect started to kick in, and after SummerSlam, we became closer, and with each week we got even closer and closer. I told on another show, I told a really funny story. We used to throw things. There was two cars. Mean Street Posse was always in one car, and in the other car was Prince Albert, Val Venus, and Test. And we used to ride. We used to follow each other to the next city to go to the hotel, and we always stop off someplace to grab some food. And in the middle of the night, if there's no one on the road, and you mess with each other, you're throwing things at each other's cars because they're rental cars. We had full insurance. We really didn't care, and so we would mess with each other. And one night we stopped while we were driving, and Val Venus, Rodney's driving, I'm riding shotgun, and Val is driving the other car. He pulls up alongside. He's telling us to roll the window down, and he says, "Pull over, your tire is getting flat." Now we knew he was bullshitting, but we pulled over, and he pulled over right alongside of us. And I'm looking, and I see Tess is kind of leaning back a little bit, and all of a sudden I see a flicker of light, and I start to roll the window up quick, and it was a good thing because Tess took a shit in a paper bag, and he lit it, and he was trying to throw it into our car, and it would have hit me in the face too, and that would have been a little hot about that. But this is like we used to rib each other, but the actual rib was on Tess, because what happened was when Tess went to shit in the bag, he missed the bag and shit on the seat, which caused Prince Albert, who was sitting in the back, to throw up in the back seat. So we had some good times. Other times we all went to a diner, and Prince Albert goes into the back and comes out with a big paper bag in it, and I was like, "Hey, Baldo, what do you got in the bag there?" And he said, he said, "We have some grilled chicken. We're going to eat it when we finally get to the hotel 2 hours away." And he was full of shit, because what happened was he ended up getting about 3 dozen eggs, and they just drilled our car. They nailed the hell out of it, and it was a good time, because we were looking for things to throw. We only had a couple of water bottles. We were throwing the manual from the glove compartment. We were trying to throw anything we had, but we had nothing, and our car was completely covered in eggs. So it was a pretty good time.
Man, some of those stories, are priceless that you hear from different stars, and of course the one you just shared with the bag of poop, man.
I got one more. I'll share one more with you, which is a funny story. We're in Cleveland, Ohio, and when I started, I was about 285 pounds. I wasn't in any shape to be a professional wrestler, but as you get there, you want to lose weight. You want to get yourself to the best. You want to be marketable. So I was really working on losing weight, getting lean, and so this one night, it was after a show. We're in Cleveland, and we stopped at a Denny's, and it was the Mean Street Posse in one car, Edge and Christian were in another, Matt and Jeff were in another, and I don't know, I think Tess and those guys were there as well. So I turned to Rodney, I said, I really feel guilty because we ate fattening that night. And I said, I think I'm just going to throw this up. I enjoyed it, but now I don't need it, so I'm just going to throw it up. And he said, I'm going to do the same thing. And we talked Addison to do it. So what we decided to do is we were going to puke on the hood of our car. So we each took a different section of the hood. I was in the middle, Rodney was on the right, Joey Addison was on the left. So we each had mounds of puke we just left on the car. So out walks Edge, Christian, Matt, and Jeff. So they come over, they're like, what are you guys doing? They see us puking in the car. So Jeff Hardy sticks his finger in Joey Addison's puke and tastes it, which made Christian to bend over, and now he's throwing up. So we all had a huge laugh with that. Now we get in the car, and it's cold out. We were driving to Columbus, Ohio. And Terrell Davis happened to be in Denny's walking out because he was in there. He had just blown out his knee, and he had to see someone for a surgery or something. So he comes out. He sees us. He's cracking up because he knew who we were. So we get in the car. We're driving to Columbus. Now we're trying to figure out, okay, whose pile of puke is going to stay on the car? Who's going to be first to fly off? Who's going to be last? So I guess because of the aerodynamics, mine stayed on the longest. So we're driving. Next thing you know, our car, everything splatters over the roof of the car, the side of the car, and we're driving it, and finally I get pulled over. And for some reason, I always got pulled over driving. Every time it was my turn. I don't know why, but I just did. So the cop pulls us over, and he goes, guys, what happened to your car? And I was just like, officer, I said, I'm going to be honest with you. I said, we wrestled for WWE. We were at a show. We are heels. We're bad guys. We're not well liked. And to be honest with you, the fans did this to our car. And we couldn't stop. We were actually kind of scared. We thought they were going to do something else to us. So we just got in the car and drove. And we were going to hope to find some place to wash this car, but it's in the middle of the night, so we were kind of stuck. And he's looking at us, and he's trying to look, and we all kept a straight face. And he said, all right, Posse. And he said he knew who we were. He goes, all right, Posse, get out of here. So we ended up, but we had it. The thing was, the next morning we had to find a car wash. So it's because if Vince ever saw our car covered with puke, he treated us like his son. So we would probably get an ass whooping from Vince, just like Shane would if we ever got caught.
Oh wow. Viper has a question. So Viper, go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering, what are your memories of your hardcore battle royal at WrestleMania 16?
Amazing. It was an amazing time. Everything there was, I remember going to the meeting, the production meeting, the meeting beforehand. We met with the agent and the referees and everyone. And I remember all the participants, especially like Bradshaw and the leaders, basically the guys that were in the locker room, the leaders, they were all like, listen, guys, this is WrestleMania. Don't hold anything back. You want to hit someone, you hit someone. When you get in the back afterwards, you say you're sorry. You didn't mean it, but this is WrestleMania. This is the Super Bowl of wrestling, and you got to be a little stiff when you get in this ring. So, but we had some interesting times. I got split open. I got hit. Viscera hit me with a box fan, and I don't know who decided to put a box fan in, but I got busted open. Crash Holly got busted open. We all got busted open by the same box fan. And I remember getting hit with that fan and dropping down, and I thought that there was sweat rolling down my face, and I remember hearing some guy in the front row, and if you ever look at the tape, you could actually see when I go down, you see the guy point with his finger to tell his buddies, and he says, Pete Gas is bleeding. So I looked down, and sure enough, I have a puddle of blood. It was like a river pouring out of my head. So what I did was I forced more out, like you kind of squeeze it, because I was fine, I wasn't hurt, and it was just like a cut. So I tried to force more out to make it look pretty good. And if you ever see the photos, I'm covered with blood there. It turned out to be good. But to have an opportunity, and they gave a lot of guys opportunities to win the strap that night. Obviously, you only have it for a minute or so, or however long of the time I want it for. But it goes down in the history books. However you look at it, I had the belt twice, but a cup of coffee lasts longer than both times I had the belt. But it still goes down in the history books as being as a hardcore champ. So to me, it's a great honor. No doubt.
Now, you actually got to work with Crash Holly, and you guys did a bunch of different angles where you guys would attack him in hotels, airports, and like circuses and places like that. What was your favorite place that you guys did those angles?
I'm going to have to, well, yeah, I mean, obviously for me it was Newark Airport because I won the belt in Newark Airport. But I think the most fun, I mean, we had a guy named Tommy Blanchard who was a writer. He was in charge of a bunch of different wrestlers. He handled the Mean Street Posse a lot, and this guy used to laugh. I mean, we would be say in Madison Square Garden leaving with our bags, and he'd be in the corner giggling, and he would say, "Guys, come here," and he'd call us over, and he'd say, "Next week we're in Philadelphia, and we're going to be at a circus, and we're going to do this, this, and this," and then he had all these ideas already ready to go before the Thursday meeting that he had. And he had so many plans for us, and, I guess for me the most fun and the most entertaining one was actually the one at the circus because we were really starting to do a lot of comedy at that point, and we were going from being heels, and the more comedy we did, we noticed we were starting to become baby faces. And at WrestleMania, when we came out for that hardcore match, we actually got cheered more than we got booed because we were doing so much hardcore stuff. And our characters became funnier, like as they become more, of a comedy role, people started to like us even more. Then, they go being backstage and telling guys like Chris Benoit, that we run things around here and blah, blah, blah. I mean, yeah, people wanted to see us get our asses kicked, and like they wanted to see us get our asses kicked against Briscoe and Patterson. It was one of the highest rated 15-minute segments in cable history, and that was another honor. But, to me, it was like when we were doing comedy, I think that's one thing that WWE should go back to and do a little bit more. I'm not saying make the whole thing a comedy skit, a Saturday Night Live thing, but put some good comedy. Make people laugh. Like Santino Morelli, whatever his name is. I mean, I think he's hysterical. You need to bring more of that stuff back. I can't stress that more. I think it makes it so much more entertaining.
Oh yeah, I would have to agree with you. Now, around the same time you feuded with Crash, you were actually offered a 3-year contract and ultimately got sent back to the developmentals to sharpen up on your skills. Were you okay with the decision to have them send you to developmental?
You don't have a choice. You do what they say. They're paying your check. And actually, what happened was when we first started, our first year we were training in Stanford for the first year, and then what happened was eventually they said, there's only so much we can teach you in a gym, basically in a studio with a ring. You need to keep performing in front of live audiences. So they sent the 3 of us to Memphis. So when we weren't on television, we were traveling. We were doing shows in Oxford, Mississippi. We were doing shows in Jonesboro, Arkansas. We were doing stuff all in that whole Mid-South area, and we needed the training. You can't just, for us we had an opportunity which not many people ever have. You don't go from renting star trailers to production companies to all of a sudden performing at WrestleMania. It just doesn't happen like that. Those opportunities are 1 in a billion. And for that, you have to learn the philosophy of a match. You need to know how to take bumps. You need how to do spots. But working a crowd and working the microphone and all that stuff, you have to practice it somewhere. We had to go to developmental. There was no question about it, and we had to pay our dues somehow. And that's basically, other than getting our heads bashed in, that's the other way we paid our dues.
What are your memories of working for Memphis Championship Wrestling?
I loved it, and I tell people all the time I could move back there. I absolutely loved Memphis, Tennessee. I had a great time. We did what happened. We would fly back from whatever city we were traveling, and we'd come back on a Wednesday, and I basically would get off the plane, go to the gym, work out, we'd do a couple things, and then Joey Adler and I would get in his pickup truck or my truck and drive down to Oxford, Mississippi, to Ole Miss, and we would wrestle in a pool hall. And then Thursday would be a training day. We would all go in there and we'd work on new moves. We would look at old videotape. We were always taught. By then, my trainers in Memphis we started out with Jim the Anvil Neidhart. From there, Steven Regal came in, and I learned a lot from Steven Regal. He's a true professional. He's an amazing person. He was just getting his life back in order from his vices that he had, and Vince gave him an opportunity. He wanted him to train, and then eventually he got called up himself. But he taught us a ton in Memphis. So we would do a show on Friday night for Memphis Championship Wrestling then, and then Saturday mornings we would do a live event on television for Jerry Lawler and Power Pro Wrestling, and then Saturday night we'd do another show. Sometimes we'd do 3 shows in a day for Memphis Championship Wrestling. So we were really busy, and it had really helped. And people saw that. People saw that up at the show at WWE. They saw that we were getting better with each week because we were working on different things. And I would have questions. I'd go to Edge and I'd say, "Hey Edge, what do you think of this?" Or I'd go to Taker, who's one of my favorite people of all time, and I would be like, ask Taker what he thought of this, and get to pick people's brains who are, if not the best, some of the best ever. It's just that opportunity. Not many people at all have that opportunity.
I would have to agree with you. Now my co-host Viper has a question, so Viper, go ahead.
Yeah, what are your memories of working in Puerto Rico with Mosh and D'Lo Brown?
Dude, I had so much fun with those guys. They're great. I remember when I got sent there, I had mixed emotions about it. I was like, why am I being sent to Puerto Rico? I had no idea why they were sending me, and they were splitting up the Mean Street Posse. I know that they had told me that they wanted me to become more of a high flyer. They wanted me to become something that just something where I was more impressive, and they wanted me to work with Savio Vega. So we came in, the 3 of us came in. It was me, D'Lo, and Chaz, who was Mosh from the Headbangers, and we came in as the White Angels, and they had masks on us, and no one was supposed to know. And then we came in as real big baby faces, and we finally took off our masks, and the crowd went crazy. And we worked these angles, and then eventually they split us up because they really wanted us to tone this stuff up. And I was getting phone calls from a guy named Dennis Brent, I'll just say he's a fucking liar. He told me that he was going to, tell me stuff like, Shane McMahon's taking over WCW. You're going to be with him. They're going to call you up. That's what you're going to do. We're going to have this whole character. You're going to bust out of the Pete Gas Mean Street Posse character into a whole new thing, and we have big plans for you. And, there's a whole bunch of things that he was blowing smoke up my ass about. But then, but to answer your question, as far as those guys, I lived with them. We drove to all the shows. We ate together, and I still keep in touch with Chaz. D'Lo and I've kind of, we haven't kept in touch that much, but I talk to Chaz every month, 2 months, whatever, and I had the best time with him, and I'm still very close friends with him to this day.
Nice. Now, what do you feel led to your release from WWE?
I was told a couple things. I was told, and I remember I was in Puerto Rico, and I remember getting a call from Joey Abs, who was still in Memphis with Rodney, and I remember it was a Wednesday, and he called me, and I remember his southern accent saying, "Yo, Gas," he said, "I need someone to talk to." He goes, "You always put a smile on my face." And I said, "Well, Abs, what's the matter? You okay?" And he says, "Yeah, they just chopped my head off. They let me go." And he goes, "Rodney's in there now, and they're going to let him go." And I was like, "You kidding me?" And my stomach dropped because I was worried about me getting, obviously, I was sad for my partners, but I was, wondering what my status was going to be. And what they told, sure enough, the following day, I'm walking with groceries, and I get a phone call. And the guy says, "Hey, Pete," he goes, "You busy?" And my shoulders just, they just went down, and my head went down. And I said, "Yeah." And then because it's a bad time, I was like, "No, I'm just coming back from the grocery store." He said, "I'll call you in 10 minutes." I said, "Man, just tell me the fucking news. I know what's going to happen." And he said, he goes, "We're going to have to let you go. We're going to hook you up with Dr. Death, Steve Williams, and in Japan, we're going to send you to Japan, and we're gonna have you stay active, be involved, and we could bring you back at any time, but we want you to stay doing this. We think you still have what it takes. Just that, what they told us afterwards, and from hearing from Shane was, Vince had bought WCW. He had a couple months prior. From what I understand, he lost about $46 million himself with the XFL, and so he had, plus from buying WCW, from what I understood, he had hundreds of wrestlers, and he only had 6 hours of airtime. And at the time, we weren't even on TV. We were training, and I guess they felt that they had nothing for us, and we got our papers, and that was the end of it.
Now, you actually made a one-night return to WWE for the 15th anniversary of Raw. What are your memories of that night?
Great time. It was so much fun to see a lot of old faces, get to meet some of the new faces, and it's amazing in this business how much respect people have. And I'll give you an example. Randy Orton, when he had his tryout was against the Mean Street Posse up at Titan Tower, and he never forgets that. I saw him 2 years ago in Orlando, and he walked past me at the Hall of Fame, and I was sitting in the front row on the side there. I'm sorry, it wasn't Orlando, it was in Houston. And he walked past me, and he stuck his hand out, and he gave me a hug, and he said, and he whispered, I never forgot who I first had my first tryout with. And that means a lot, because to me, I think he's one of the best in the business right now. And for him to show that respect, remember that his tryout was against me and against Rodney in a little studio with a ring in it. That means a lot, and it shows that he knows how to be respectful. And to me, that was everything. So, but to answer your question, to go back to it was in Bridgeport, Connecticut for the anniversary show. It was great. I mean, it was so much fun to get out there one more time and to perform in front of the crowd. I remember I had known of at least 40 people that were there that if I didn't get them some of them tickets, they were going online spending $300 to sit in the first 5 rows just to see me, guys I play softball with, and to be able to perform in front of my nieces and nephews when I was wrestling back in 99 through 2001. They were really tiny, so then they got the opportunity as teenagers to come back and get to experience it again. To me, that was important. Like, I got to show them, I got to be a clown and show off one more time. So for me, that was a great experience, and I loved it. But seeing the guys was probably the biggest thrill for me again.
Now, do you keep in touch with the office about possibly coming back, or you just kind of put it on the back burner?
Well, before Shane left, Shane always knew that all he had to do was pick up the phone call or send me a text message and say, pack your bags, and I would be ready to go out the door, and I can get ready in 10 minutes. And he knew that, I guess, and I would assume other people know that. Now, the higher-ups, I don't know if they know that, but if they're listening, all you got to do is pick up the phone. I said, I live right down the hill from Titan Tower. All you have to do is pick up the phone, and I'll be ready to go. So they know that I wanted to do it. So, if it's ever there, if they ever want an appearance, a cameo, anything, I'll do it in a heartbeat. Because to me, there's no greater job in the world than working for WWE.
Now let me ask you, what does the future hold for Pete Gas?
Well, that's a good question. I wish I knew, because I could bet on it. The future right now is I'm trying to get back into it. I'd like to start doing some indie stuff if there's anyone interested out there. Appearances. I know I have an appearance coming up on May 15th at it's called legendsofthering.com. There's a thing there. I'm going to get to do that, which the Mean Street Posse are all getting back together one more time. We haven't been together in 9 years. So it'll be great to see, Joey Abs and Rodney, all three of us together. I'm looking to do that. So if there's any bookings, they can get in touch with me through Facebook or whatever the case is. And other than that, I'm just working and playing ball. That's about it.
Well, I'd like to thank you for coming on and doing the interview today.
It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. I think I talked too much, but that's all right.
No, you gave us a lot of good information. It was very useful, and I want to thank you for coming on. And I will definitely put your Facebook link up on our website for people to add you on Facebook.
Sounds great.
All right, thank you very much.
Have a great day.
All right, you too.